committee meetings order. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? And seeing none, we'll move to the adoption of the minutes for January 13th, 2021.
Oh,
You've all had a chance to review the minutes. Is there any questions about the minutes at all? And somebody, I don't know, Lisa, maybe if you could just check the chat too, because I know I missed that once or twice last meeting. Sorry, any discussion about the minutes? So motion to adopt the minutes, a mover. Todd, seconder. Mr. Haskett, Colin. Anybody opposed? And that's carried. Okay, so we adopted the minutes. All right, moving right on to number 4, business arising from the minutes. Item A, the tennis court, Old Clover Village, and Paul.
thank you through you, Daniel. So recently we were made aware of a good opportunity for, there was a COVID resiliency grant that the township had originally put in for salt sand shed. We had been denied on this project. So last night at council, we had a discussion regarding one of the items that was deemed a good approach would be things like tennis courts was used as an example. And being that we need to do that already, we were putting in for that as the project for $100,000 project. So I think what I'd like to do is maybe discuss, at that point, it's more than just a tennis court. Maybe we can actually build like a nice combination complex, like pickleball, tennis, and maybe other options there. So there's 2 things that I'd like to discuss, maybe, what kind of things those would look like, or, part of the things in the minutes, one things that we had discussed before is public notification and interaction on these projects. So maybe, if you were a resident who lived next to this park, or even if you're as a resident who doesn't live next to the park, what are the kind of questions and concerns you might have? So maybe we could put some sort of letter together that we could maybe send out or notify the public about, and maybe potentially already have those questions answered.
Okay, so you're looking for some questions, input from the group?
If I may as well, Daniel, I know one thing discussing with some of my peers that I've discussed is there are some that have a tennis court pickleball almost hybrid. And now they're finding with the popularity of pickleball, they're running into issues with the tennis players. So I would suggest to the group that we might want to look at a tennis court and a few pickleball nets might be a good option.
Right. Okay. Okay. Comments, questions for Paul? Agreement?
So, Paul, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand. So you're putting in, and forgive me for being a little dense. I think I'm re-saying exactly what you've just said. So there is a grant that we're applying to, and that part of the grant criteria, a tennis court application would be appropriate for that, and that's part of our plan. So we're looking at doing that. But I got you up to that point, but I kind of lost you from that point forward. What is it that you're looking from us?
So what I'm looking for is just maybe discuss, because originally the project we said, we know the tennis courts need to be relocated, but for $100,000, we may be able to do more. And I know pickleball's been a huge demand. People have been asking, if we do consider that, maybe that's something we consider. So I think I'm kind of just wanting to discuss the project with you guys and how that might, because we wanted to have public interaction discussing it too. So what are some concerns and comments you might have that if we send it out to residents, maybe they're already addressed so that there isn't a whole back and forth miscommunication? We're nice and clear on what the project might be.
So you're looking for, sorry, go ahead, Todd.
Sorry, thank you for explaining that. I just want to make sure that I understood. So if that's the case, some of the multi-use type of activities I can think of that could be incorporated with the tennis court would be basketball, pickleball. Tennis courts are typically fenced in, and so if the fenced in area is big enough, I'm sure other ball sports. In the wintertime, hockey sports, kids out there on the asphalt with a couple hockey nets on either side. I mean, those sort of things could be incorporated, I would think, into something that would surround a tennis court. That would be my recommendation.
So, Paul, are we just looking for comments about how it will be received in the community, what the issues might be with the community, what types of activities that the community would like to see? Is this what we're looking for?
Or just, as a resident, if this is going in the park by your house, that's a concern, something that we can kind of look at to incorporate into the project. I know at a staff level, we discuss, it may not be the prettiest to look at. So do we want to put part of the project a row of cedar hedges? Items things like that.
All right. Okay. Further comments, Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could make it just maybe a suggestion or a comment. There's kind of two ends to this. It's what does maybe this group envision for how that's going to look in the park and where it's going to go in the park. And then there's kind of two ways you can do public input. You can sort of have a plan to show people and then get comments based on that location, what plan, what it looks like and everything else. Or sometimes that's not well received by the public. They think that's a done deal and really we're just vetting it through them. That's it. The other way is to have the blank page and say, look, this is what we want to do. We need your input. Where do you think it should go? How do you think it should look? What would you like to see in it? What wouldn't you like to see in it? So there's a couple different ways, and I think that's what Paul's trying to get at. How does the group feel we should proceed forward with the public engagement portion?
Right. Okay. Thank you for that, Ron. Okay. Yes, sir, Keith.
Just my input would be, I'm kind of agreeing with Todd there about just if you can do a multi tennis court, pickleball or whatever. And then I was just thinking for Abby, like, doesn't she do pickleball during the winter? And then she could kind of do a program in the springtime or something, or summertime, kind of. You have a multi tennis court with basketball and hockey in the winter. I think majority of the residents in the area would enjoy that. At least you're not just going there for one thing, like just tennis courts, right? So.
Yeah, and that might also help kind of with the grant, because it's the idea is for improving outdoor activity for specifically, like, because we've dealt with COVID-19, like how can we do this? And interesting enough, Middlesex Center, their pickleball courts, the pickleball users, they snow plowed them all winter long playing pickleball. So pickleball stop.
Yeah, I just think a multi-use court would be, like, I would try and go for the multi-court. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Keith. Anything further?
I think Abby has her hand up there, maybe.
Oh, sorry. I
do.
Abby, I couldn't
Thanks,
see you.
Colin.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Colin. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, through you. Sorry, I have a cracked screen, so my laptop isn't capable of video, so thank you for recognizing. Anyway, Keith, to reply to you, yes, so pickleball, we have a great group of pickleball players, and they are very spunky and ambitious, and they are lined up out my office to sign up for the pickleball that's happening next week, which is great. And Paul mentioned how surrounding communities are actually plowing the pickleball courts during this time, and I absolutely see that happening for our group. But a great thing with the outdoor courts is that also adds to our gymnasium size, obviously. So you can run classes out there. You could it could be an attraction for the county to have a tournament, a Red Robin circuit, possibly. So there's a lot of different things that I really envision with the outdoor pickleball courts. But diversity is also something that we should keep in mind, like Todd mentioned earlier.
Thank you. Abby, sorry I missed you. Yes, Colin.
I guess just further to what both Todd and Keith said, I think multi-use is important. If I lived in the neighborhood, I would want to know if there would be floodlights there on a regular basis, and I would want to make sure that there was proper parking, and I would also want to make sure that there was garbage disposal and those types of things. But to Ron's point, I really like the idea of engaging the community. I'm not sure that we've always been 100% on that, and if there was a chance to poll the community, or even more specifically, even that neighborhood, it's a new neighborhood. It's got a lot of young kids. There's a lot of people that maybe haven't grown up in town, but there's also people who have, and it might be kind of neat to see what they might want in their backyard. Let them have some input. One thing that I would raise for sure would be, I don't know what is going to be in Lucan's plans in all the parks, but if we're going to put in cement, I would think that there might be some sense at some point to talk about cooling lines for a proper outdoor rink, and I think there could be some support for that too. So those would just be my comments.
All right. Thank you, Colin. Paul.
Yeah, just if I may, if Lisa, can you check the lobby? I received an email from Linda. She didn't have the link. I just sent it to her. She may be waiting.
Okay. All right. Further comments or questions, concerns for Paul? Those are all very good. Yes. Anything else on that? So Paul, where do we kind of go from here then? If
Well, so Catherine and I are gonna work together on putting the proposal for the grant. It's on Friday is our due date for the project. It was a very quick turnaround, but you know, we don't have to have this finalized to apply for the grant. It's very generic, but I will you know, this will help us develop the public process that we could apply to this.
yeah, I think that's important, that engagement, like Colin said, that's something I think is very key, and that Ron has mentioned as well. All right, so once the grant, I just have a couple of questions. So once the grant is, and the application is this very soon, isn't it? It's like Friday? No, is it Friday? And we hear back from that, would you come back to the group? And once we've, I'm assuming we get this and we come back to the group, and then we can go from there. Are we as a group going to be coming with are we going to be doing design, or is that something that you want this group to do, or is that something you'll be doing?
Well, once we find out from the grant, we'll know what's required of us. We'll know how much money we have to work with. I think at that point, we may have a council discussion regarding the project budget, and maybe part of that too is at the Parks and Rec advisory level. We keep having this conversation as we have meetings of what the project should look like. We'll keep that motion going forward. So once we have that budget in mind, you know, we can know what we need. Right?
Right.
Know what the money we need to cover with that idea. Should it
Right.
be less?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Was there any other comments at all? Councilor Matsakis. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair Councilor Regan. Question: How much? So this funding, how much does the township, we as a township, have to put towards to get money to get the 100,000? Is there a commitment by us? Remind me.
I believe there's no commitment by the township for this. But as the township, if we wanted something more to add to this, what we receive, if we are successful, we can.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Anything further to this? I'm just going to check to see. Abby, was there anything else?
Nothing else from me on this one. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Daniel, sorry, one other. The only thought also for me is how big you might want to go. I know they're looking in London to build potentially a huge facility for pickleball. Unless we the North pickleball court in Lucan, is there an option of having that as don't keep that out of the box if we get an area, we need a larger area, or how big do we want to go on this? Do we want to be the pickleball community here?
Right. Thank you. Okay. Anything further? I don't want to miss anyone. I'm looking for hands raised. Don't see anyone. Okay, we will move to number 5, new business. A is outdoor exercise equipment. Paul?
Thank you through your chair. So we also were made aware of another grant opportunity through Hydro One. And this grant was to improve health and wellness and fitness in the community. It was a very quick turnaround once again. So we kind of looked at some of the key things that we could do. It was promoting trails and wellness and so forth. So one of the things in the Parks and Rec master plan that has been referred to a few times was outdoor exercise equipment. So one of the concepts that Lisa and I discussed at a staff level is to address that need. Maybe, you know, as more and more people are using the paths for exercise and walking around the community, we put in for almost like so outdoor exercise equipment almost in a circuit. You would do one in Lucan and one in Granton, so both communities are addressed and needed. And you know, they're actually a lot more affordable than both of us thought, which was surprising that you could get that much equipment for the price. So hopefully we're successful on that one, and you know, we'll talk more once we are successful on what specific equipment would be what we'd want to look at. I know when we looked for the pricing, we reached out to a company and just to see how costing would look, and they would design it if you wanted to for a full body workout. So say you started in Old Clover Village and you worked your legs and you move around Market Street Park and you're on an outdoor cycle, and there's lots of different things you can do with it, and I think it would be great for the community. It would definitely meet a need.
Just if I could, can I just jump in really quick before I forget? So you talked about like this outdoor equipment as a circuit, but I'm wondering why if we should like be including like Clandeboye, for example, like just all the areas you mentioned, you know, town, and then of course then the at Granton, and then moving over there. I'm just wondering. I'm just throwing that up because I think sometimes that doesn't get mentioned.
Yeah, the idea is to do it within the park system because it would be for walking trails, and we don't currently have a walking trail out to Clandeboye.
Okay.
And that's why we would suggest 2 separate circuits, because you also wouldn't want people. I mean, they could exercise in Granton and then they could jog down Fallon Drive and exercise in Lucan if they wanted. And if they were that shape, I'm sure they would do it every day. But
I'm in. Oh yeah.
Yeah. The idea is, you know, to make it accessible for everyone, because not everyone can also afford gym memberships. And
right. Okay. All right. Sorry, I jumped. Councillor Mastarakis.
Could we involve some of the local fitness trainers that have a business in the area and get ideas, because they may use the outdoor equipment as well, which would be great to get the activity flowing. Is that maybe that's an option? Yeah, I'm sure you've done that before.
yeah, yes, we had some brief conversations as well, just kind of what to kind of look at and what we should be looking at. A lot of the in-town exercises is a lot of CrossFit, which is slightly different, and they still want to go forward with donating equipment around the track at the arena as well, because that's good for their CrossFit programs. But absolutely, it can't hurt. The more information we can get, the better, so we have a better active community.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Peter. Any other questions or comments? I don't see any. Linda, yes. You need to unmute yourself, Linda.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry for arriving late. I couldn't find my link, so I apologize for the late arrival. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I think the idea of creating things that make people move around our park system and around town, watching people walking right now is just incredible. And I think it started something that will continue. I don't think the end of the pandemic is going to stop this. It's an inexpensive way for people to participate. You don't have to have an expensive gym membership or anything. It's fantastic. So I'm definitely think it's a great idea to add activities that will lead them from place to place. I think that's very forward thinking.
Thank you, Linda. Paul, did you have your hand up? Did you want to say anything? No?
No, I was just gonna let you know that Linda had her hand up in case you couldn't see her on the screen.
Okay, all right. You guys got to keep me honest here. Okay, fair enough. Any other comments or questions on 5A? Does anyone have anything else? Okay, Paul, do we need to know where we're moving forward, or is there anything else we need to know?
No, that was just to kind of make the committee aware of a project that came up rather quickly. You know, that would have maybe we would have come to the committee before if we had more time and get more input on it. But as we get the project, it'll be nice we'll come back to the committee and discuss it more.
All right. Okay, thank you, Paul. We'll move on to 5B, spring and summer ice. And yeah. Paul.
I'm sure many of you have heard, as my phone's been ringing off the hook, we have a very good opportunity. A hockey school has approached us to do a spring summer ice season, which is something we have not done since the max skating school, because we need a commitment of so many hours of ice in order to have it. So it's a good opportunity. They are going to be reaching out to the minor hockey associations in Lucan and area to make sure they're aware of their programs. So some of those kids that they may not play baseball or soccer but really missed out on their hockey season, they may want an extra opportunity, as well as it offers an extra opportunity for adults who missed out on their hockey season. And there may be some other opportunities in here in between programming to offer some more ice to the community. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good for us as a department. It's a kind of a happy surprise that was not planned this season. And I think if it's successful, this may be something that happens in a year-to-year basis.
Good. Questions? Discussions? Nothing. I think, sorry, did you mention there was a time frame on this for when we'll know more, or?
No, this is set to begin March 15th and go straight through until August. So there's gonna be ample opportunity for some ice.
Okay, Todd.
Have you given any consideration as to what should happen? Should we go into red or lockdown again in the middle of the summer?
Yes, this school is able. This was a big selling factor. The school is able to operate in the red. It's not an issue for them. Part of it as well is there is COVID relief for any additional cost for installing ice that we can attribute to that as well. It's also very important too that I think we brought this up at council last night actually, that the new system, the changes that we've made are far more efficient than the old one. So that's another benefit as well. So our costs are going down with our expense going up. Our costs are going down, expense going down, revenues going up. It's very good. It's a good news story for the township.
Mr. Hall has his hand up.
Yes, I was just wondering if it was a local group that was running this, or
this group, I believe they have done it out of South Huron before. It's Axis Hockey School. It's a former NHL player who was also a trainer for the Buffalo Sabres for I believe 5 years, and a partner. They're based out of Grand Bend, and their plan is, and the key thing I wanted, because we didn't want, right now is not the time to be drawing children from Toronto and all over the place, but the goal is to do Lucan and area.
I would definitely hope you would get a sizable deposit from them up front in case they decide to peel out and you've already put the expense in and putting the ice in and everything else.
And there is a very long list of people as well that would also like to more ice if any comes available. So anyone that is anxious for that, I mean, it's going to be a lot of people wanting ice.
Yeah, I'm sure if everybody can get on the ice, they would like it since they've missed the opportunity this year.
I believe Ron had his hand up, Daniel.
Sorry, Wayne, are you, did you have more, Wayne? Sorry.
No, I didn't.
All right, okay. Ron? Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to mention, Wayne, that Paul and I had that discussion because the deputy mayor had the same comment, and on the surface that makes sense that to get a deposit because we're not going to go through that expense to put it in there. However, when we started discussing that, it really became obvious. The only reason we would have to go back into the red is not because of, not because of the hockey school. It's not because of us. It's the health unit that drives that kind of thing. And the fact that the province gave us COVID money is to cover costs like that. This is a small business. So by taking that deposit and possibly using that deposit, you're actually punishing a small business. The guy, he's trying to provide a service and run a business for kids. And we do get the benefit of it as well. We've got our fingers crossed that we're not going to go backwards into the I guess the red we can still operate, but gray I guess is the one where we have to stop everything. So we're hopeful, Wayne, but we did not ask for a deposit simply for that fact that really that's what the COVID money was handed out from the province to cover these kinds of things, these unexpected things, because it's not otherwise it's really a punishment for the small business owner, and they're just trying to survive the same as everybody else. So I don't know whether that makes sense, but I hope that makes sense.
Thank you, Ron. I see Linda.
Frankly, everything that I'm hearing sounds win-win to me. For everybody, for the kids, for this business, for adults who want to get back on the ice. It just screams win-win as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Thank you, Linda. Any further comments or questions for Paul about that item? I don't. Colin?
Yeah, first, just real quick question. Are you going to keep the ice until fall? And just before I let you answer that question, I believe Scott Bogart is a partner in that Access Hockey, and we've done it multiple times. And Scott's been around this area forever with RSD Sports in Exeter. So I would say he might not live in Lucan, but he's still pretty darn local. So.
Yeah, if I may, through you, Chair, that's the plan. The plan is, if this is successful, it may be a permanent thing in Lucan Vidolph where we actually have it's almost a second hockey season, and that would be a huge change to our Parks and Recreation budget. And the more efficiencies we put into the building, the better the building gets. It's just a win-win, as Linda had said before. So that is the plan going forward. If we can, if this goes well, obviously it's hard to tell with COVID. There's so many variables, and that's the hard thing about this. Making any plans right now, you're making gambles with everything, unfortunately. But in a non-COVID world, that it would be a fantastic plan for our township.
Yeah, well said, Linda. Yeah, it's a win-win. Any other comments for Paul or the group on 5B? And I don't see any. We're going to go to Community Guide C. Paul.
This one's actually Abby's got some.
Oh, Abby, sorry. Your name wasn't beside us. Yeah, always do that.
That's okay, no problem. So one of the things that I wanted to discuss with PRAC was the community guide. Previous to COVID, we used to do a biannual community guide, a spring and summer, and then another issue in the fall and winter. So we have missed 2 issues of this guide. That puts our last guide that is currently on our website out of date. So I just wanted to kind of get a grasp of what the PRAC committee feels is important. Previously, we had 2,000 copies of this guide printed and mailed to homes, put in the post office, kept in my office, as well as the municipal office to hand out to new residents, put into the new resident packages. So that had our municipal information, and then more specifically, Parks and Recreation information, special events, outreach programs such as volunteering opportunities, advertising opportunities for local businesses, So again, we missed 2 issues so far. So I'm kind of wondering if we should proceed with looking at the opportunity to do an upcoming spring and summer. Maybe just do a yearly copy, maybe just a PDF on our website, or go ahead and maybe look at the opportunity of printing those community guides again to distribute them around town.
Thank you, Abby. Paul?
If I may, through you, Chair. And one thing both Abby and I have discussed, obviously some of the programming, it may not be, there's no guarantee what's going to happen. So that's why we kind of avoided doing the last 2 issues. But maybe there's some things that, as the group, you feel are important to be in there. I know, there's conversations around service clubs, around organizations, around contacts, social services, as Abby said, like the senior exercise programs, that maybe like we should do a smaller, as Abby said, version that, the important information that maybe we can make sure it's a guarantee, not, advertising things that we don't know.
Thank you, Paul. Linda?
Now that we don't have any sort of newspaper, although to the credit of the community, we certainly do have newsletters coming out of the township office. Thank you very much. That help update where we're at. I would strongly suggest going to once a year with a printed booklet. Like you say, if it can be part of a package for new people, and it has so much comprehensive information about Lucan in it, that I think it's, I pop it out every once in a while and take a look at when, taxes and water are coming and that sort of thing. And I think it's a valuable resource, but I think we certainly could cut the cost in half by doing it once a year. The proof of the pudding is that we've still got the last issue to refer to, and it's still somewhat valid, but understandably, trying to predict what is available and what can happen in the upcoming future is, as we know, a giant crapshoot. But I still think it is a valuable resource for newcomers, for older people. I realize that young people would more naturally jump onto their phones to find out the information, but I think as a resource, especially given the fact that we're doing so much more for seniors and stuff now, we still have to make sure that we can reach everybody.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Councillor Mastarakis.
Thank you, Mr. Regan. Question. So that's I like the idea of annually, and maybe you do put disclaimers on the document. And with the new website coming in, maybe there's a link or something for updates. I don't know, timing of it, putting something in the document to say, hey, updates may happen. Please check here for what's going on in the community. Just tying everything together, the new website, any other information we have to this guide. But I think getting paper out in people's hand, there's less paper, there's coming to the doors generally, more people are getting emails and it's going to junk. So I think these documents are very important for people to get.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Colin.
I was just going to say, I don't have one of these in front of me and it's been a while since I've seen one, but I would think there's maybe a number of hidden gems out there that people aren't aware of in our community, including the conservation area, just the other side of the water pumping station. And then there's a number of private trails. I'm thinking about Paul Hodgins Trail and the Martins Trail. And then some of these amenities that people can use completely free, and maybe even beyond the township as well, as people are trying to stay active and find things to do. Would there be an opportunity to maybe focus on some of this stuff? Maybe you already have, I don't know.
Sorry. Was that for question for Abby, I think, maybe?
Yeah, I can absolutely make a remark to that. Colin, that's a great idea. Actually, that's something that I've wanted to implement into the community guide previously, is
the outdoor recreation that is free and convenient for all. It's not currently in our previous community guides, more so given because of the lack of space that was available. Previously, we had 24 pages in the guide, and to increase that, obviously, it would go up by 4 or decrease by 4. So if you didn't have enough information, you wouldn't be able to fill it. If you had to remove, then what do you keep in? So what I'm kind of hearing is that we would look at the route of a essential information guide with additional information such as the hidden gems and things that are available regardless of COVID restrictions going forward.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Colin, did you have anything else with that? No, all right. Paul.
If I may, I know as well, another thing that we used to have readily available in the lobby at the one in the old arena was the trail guides for the area and stuff like that. So a lot of those things are offered free that we could, you know, it might take a little labor from me and Abby, but we can always, maybe that we start putting inserts in with our guide, so it doesn't increase our cost, but we have more information in there as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Todd, would you have your hand up? Sorry. Nope, you're all right. Keith.
I was just thinking with the guy, what Paul was just saying, you know how like provincial parks, they have like just a paper of like all their trails around the provincial park. Could you just something like that really quick, just kind of draw a map out of Lucan and then, you know what I mean? I was just thinking, because you know, provincial parks have like 6 or 7 trails around them. Couldn't you just use like a page like that just to kind of give just a map, I guess? Just a thought, because I just when you said the pamphlet, but if you could put that in the community guide, just a page of the actual trails, like I don't know how you know which way they go or whatever, but something like that, I guess. Thought.
Okay. Thank you, Keith, for that. Further comments, questions for Paul or Abby? Don't see anything on that. Okay. We can move forward then. Paul, are we good?
Yes, there's just actually 2 quick items that didn't have time to make it to the agenda. The first is to deal with membership. So with the vacancy that we have posted, we only received 3 applications, and you know, I've been discussing with some of our neighboring municipalities how their groups work and what their numbers are and how their appointments work. And I know a huge conversation at the council level, and even part of our master plan is, you know, how can we increase volunteership? So what I would like to pose is that the PRAC committee potentially could make a motion to council to amend our terms of reference to increase our number from 7 to 9, which is similar to advisory committees around us. As since it's such a small number of applicants, we could then bring in 3 new perspectives from the community, and you know, we're not discouraging some potentially really good volunteers.
All right. So if I may just, you're asking for this group to make a motion that you recommend that you go to council and make a recommendation to council to amend the terms of reference for the Parks and Rec Committee, the membership from 7 to 9 members. Is that what we were asking?
Yes, and then we
so
would.
I have, okay, so if we want to discuss that and we're going to do that, then I need a mover for that motion, a seconder, and we can have a discussion. I would feel more comfortable doing it that way. So I have a mover, Todd, seconder, Colin. Anyone opposed? We'll have discussion. Okay, so we can discuss that now. So open for discussion before we vote on it. We have Linda's okay with it. She had a thumbs up. Colin, Keith, big smile and a thumbs up. Todd, I don't see Somebody needs to say something because, oh,
Yes.
Peter, okay, there we go. Okay, I'm good. Councillor Mastarakis, I'm okay with it. I think, I actually think just if I may, just as chair, there have been a number of, Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Wayne, yeah. Thank you, Wayne. There have been a number of discussions at council with respect to how to foster volunteerism and how to increase that. I mean, one of the examples they used was when I think it was Sheila Hodgins from the museum was trying to get volunteers, and the mayor graciously volunteered me at some point when I retire, which is fine. And so I've committed to that. But again, just generating more and more volunteers. I think that was part of it, which why I thought it was a good idea. The other reason too is that since this committee has been formed, and I think I've been with it for 4 years, most of us, and our town has grown. And I'm thinking the increase, this is just so you know where I stand on it, the increase from 7 to 9, I think it reflects the growing population, the diversity of the population. And there are, and I haven't seen any of the people that have, or looked at any of the applications or anything that people have turned in, but there are some very, very talented people in our community. A lot of them are on this committee. Actually, all of them are on this committee, but I'm just thinking that that's something that I would like to see Paul go forward with. That's just my 2 cents as chair. Is there any other comments?
Can I just ask,
Linda?
what is the current population now of the village of Lucan?
Ron may want to answer that.
Or the
I'll
whole
embarrass
township,
myself.
whichever.
Township, whole township, yeah.
I think Lucan urban limits, I think the population in 2016 during the census was about 2,750. Obviously, there's been quite a bit of growth since 2016. So, I think we're probably getting pretty close to 2,900, maybe even 3,000 at this point. But yeah, we're just under the 5,000 in total for the entire municipality.
4,700. See how close I was? All right, Colin. Oh, sorry, Linda. Do you have another question?
Nope, that's good. Thanks.
Colin.
Yeah, and real quick, I was just going to say nobody really wants to join a committee. You're kind of stuck with us that you twist our arm, but they might help us. They might help us.
Sorry, Colin, were you speaking directly to the chair? I didn't know.
Yes, to the chair.
Okay.
But I know that you might get some input in Old Clover to help with a tennis court. And when they're not looking and they think that we're not bad people, that's when we can pounce and convince them to join the committee and replace us. So I think that, kind of looking at engaging people and then hopefully getting them excited about being part of it, that might be an easier sell for engagement.
And that's just about how they got me into the Air Force. Anyway, okay. Any other comments or questions? Sorry. Any comments or questions? Anything else? All right. So there is a motion that, and Ron, if I'm wording this wrong, you can change it for me, because so the motion is just that we're going to recommend that Paul go to council to propose that council look at amending the terms of reference for the Parks and Recreation Committee membership from 7 to 9 members. That's the motion. Okay, opposed? Oh, sorry, Peter.
One question, Ron, would we say to a maximum of 9 or?
Oh.
So if I may answer that question, Mr. Chair, the motion should read that the PRAC committee recommend to council the amendment to the terms of reference to increase the membership from 7 to 9, and that the appropriate amendment be brought forward to the appointment bylaw. So that's, I can wordsmith that to be correct, but that's ultimately what you're doing. Yeah.
And Ron, I only bring up a maximum 9 because I'm wondering if somebody leaves in term, do we then need to search for somebody else, or can we carry forward, if we got 6 months left to the next 4-year term? Because I think it aligns with council's 4 years generally. So do we?
We can, so through Mr. Chair, to answer that question, I think we can align that similar to what the rules are for municipal council. So municipal councils, you have to replace up until I think it is 6-8 months before the next election. If it's that close, then you don't have to. But yeah, we can certainly look at that, and that can be discussed during council. So the two members of council that are here tonight can bring that forward and basically make that discussion point at council.
Okay. Sorry, Councilor Mastarakis, is there anything else, sir?
No, Paul has a comment. Sorry, I'm pointing at Paul. Can't you see that?
I'm sorry.
I do the same thing. He's got one. I believe currently in the terms of reference, it does address vacancies as up until the next appointment of the committee.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. Okay, so sorry, is there any other discussion? I don't want to ignore anybody. I want to see if everybody's good. So the motion is on the floor, just looking for all those opposed. And seeing none, and that will pass. So we'll move forward on that. Okay, Paul, was there anything else you wanted to just finish off with that one, or can we move on?
I think we're good on that one. I think it's a very positive thing to foster that volunteerism for these individuals.
Okay.
So just the last item that it didn't make to the agenda was I wanted to make the committee aware we've through efficiency funds we are going forward with an online booking and software for the Parks and Rec department. It's going to vastly increase their efficiency as well, give the public more of an opportunity to see what's available, and it can really get rid of a lot of paper with documents for courses and programs. It puts it all on there, and it it makes it more efficient. It's currently being used in the City of London for their recreation programs. So a lot of our residents also use City of London, as well as North Middlesex is working with us towards this. So it's good to do what our neighbors are doing. It keeps us all consistent, and I think it's gonna be great for the community.
Great. Okay. Any questions or comments for Paul on that? And I do not see any. Okay. All right. Thank you, Paul. Number 6 is the roundtable discussions. For anyone that has any questions, comments, wants to bring something up. Keith.
Just a couple things. Excuse me. Just to give you guys the heads up on the Grant and Ice, we opened her up on January the 26th, and apparently we still have some ice, and it was actually, talking to Paul, we did 5 skaters for the whole month of January, or the month of February, sorry. So everybody respectfully did their part over there. There was no issues. There was no nets or anything like that, but a lot of young kids came out on the weekends in the mornings, and then it just kind of watching during the day, it was always kind of spread out, which was pretty good. It was kind of crappy that you couldn't see any hockey games or anything happening, but this was probably a good year for the ice because we went 5 weeks, and I've never gone past family day with ice, so that was good. So I was quite proud, like myself and Brian that helps me. Kind of glad that it kind of eases out because it makes your nights kind of late over there. But on another note, when you start flooding ice, you got some time when it freezes. Todd and Colin, I looked up portable ice chillers. For $47,000, we can get a good size ice portable chiller. But I don't know, just something to think. I know we've been kind of talking about it, kind of because a lot of people that's come over is from Lucan or whatever, and then just listening to you two guys kind of thing, I kind of looked it up. So I don't know, something on the next meeting that maybe we should kind of look into a portable, even just a portable chiller, and go from there. So yeah, go ahead, Paul.
If I may, there are some really good, well, I'd say local, but Southern Ontario companies that deal in this.
Yeah.
The big thing with the portable, there's positives and negatives to all these things, and the wear and tear for instance, like the piping for the rolling out is it might be more beneficial for the township if we do a more permanent. But I'm looking at the prices there. It's looking a lot more affordable than it was in the past. So, and I'm sure this winter has really changed things for those companies. So you never know.
It's just the fact where you could go from fall to spring with those, right? Like they were talking, like if it's 10 degrees outside or even warmer, right? They're capable of working, right? It probably work a little bit harder, but I don't know, it's just something like, because in Grant here, the portable one would be not too bad. I know what you're saying with the in and out, but if, you know, if we're thinking of, as the committee, helping out Lucan with the portable or something, chiller, it's something I think we should look into, because it does. There's a lot of people that when they come out to Grant that I meet that I don't know from around the area, just love it. Like, it's just unreal that they're all never heard a negative comment, right? If they just knew how long it takes to get it built up. But yeah, just something, just because, you know, you spend some time and just thinking it'd be quite pretty cool to have something separate. Yeah. So.
Paul, yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, one thing that's a benefit in Granton is you have the ability to close the walls, and it's got a roof. So
Yeah.
it really increases your ability to run longer. I don't know about fall, but I'll believe it when I see it. But
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure some of these.
everything really, it's not that easy, but you know, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Linda, you had your hand up.
May I say that Lucan Biddulph, and especially Granton, are very blessed to have someone like Keith, who is taking such a keen interest, active interest in providing this kind of activity for the kids in his area. And you deserve a huge pat in the back.
Thank you,
Thank
Keith.
you. I enjoy doing it.
And we can't forget Brian Harrigan either.
Yes, Brian, there, yeah.
Perfect. So, anything further to that? Todd, did you have anything?
Yeah, actually, an inquiry, Mr. Chair, there's not a week that goes by that somebody from Lucan doesn't ask me what's going on with the arena renovation. So I was hoping that we may have a bit of a status update. So we as a committee, when we go into the community, can kind of relay that along.
Ron, would you like to answer?
Yeah, Ron can answer that.
We still have our fingers crossed. We haven't heard a no. I think we're all aware of what happened up in Exeter. They received a formal no. So you know, we're still hopeful and waiting for formal announcement. And I don't know. This has gone on a long time, and hopefully it doesn't drag on too much longer. I think so. Can everybody still hear me? Okay, good.
Yeah, you're freezing up a bit. Keep going, Ron.
Okay, sorry. I'll try and go fast. The other update is in regards to the soccer fields, and I just wanted everybody to know that we're still moving forward on that. Obviously, those discussions have to happen in camera. So just so that everybody knows, we're still moving forward, and we're hopeful for a deal in the next little bit. So hopefully by the next meeting we'll have an update.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for the comment about the soccer field, because that was the second point I was going to put through, and I would like to share as well. I don't have this as a confirmation, but one of the soccer committee members told me just last weekend that potentially the Lucan Soccer Association will not be running programs this summer. So just something to share as a potential going on.
Paul?
Just on a comment on that, I mean, a lot of it is stemming from London and what London has been doing. I think what's important for our soccer association is, you know, we have to collect some answers for them about what they can and cannot do. The same will go for baseball, obviously. But yeah, we're waiting for some answers from the health unit on just some clarifications. I think that will really determine things. I'm hopeful we're able to do something. I know with soccer, it's a lot more difficult to play distance. Baseball, there were some teams that were successful last year renting the diamonds and were able to do something. So hopefully, and you know, hopefully some of those soccer kids, you know, there may be gym rentals they can utilize if they aren't outside, or maybe they were also hockey players that might be able to pick up some ice.
Thank you, Paul. Todd, sorry, did I cut you off there? Did you have another item before I went back to Paul? No, you're all right? Okay. So again, roundtable, any other comments, questions? I'm just looking for raised hands. I don't see any. I guess we are good then. All right. Okay, so we will move on. Thank you for that. We just have to establish our next meeting. Paul, what were you thinking when we need to bring this group back together again?
For right now, I was actually going to propose to the group, we hold off on setting that date as, you know, there's so many things going on right now, so many uncertainties. It'd be nice to have just some good topics to discuss. So once we have those, I'd like to propose to the group to set up a meeting.
Right, how's everybody feel with that? Is everybody okay with that? Okay, I'm getting some, okay. All right, I think we will, Paul, we'll just send out some dates at some point if anything happens over the next few weeks, I guess. All right. Okay, then I guess we are number 8, adjournment, and I'm just looking for a motion to somebody to make the motion to adjourn. Todd, and a seconder, and Wayne seconds.